Hello everybody and welcome back to the little podcast I do here on the channel called Your Favorite X-Men, where I have a conversation with somebody about their favorite X-Men character. We talk about why that character resonates and a couple of their favorite stories involving that character. Today I'm joined by Alex, who is a fantastic artist. I will link their Twitter and Instagram, and in fact they got on my radar because I really enjoyed the art they put out, and then I stayed for their really great consistent X-Men takes. So I'm super excited to chat with you, Alex, and if you would please do the honor of telling us who your favorite X-Men character is.
Well, my favorite X-Men character is, drumroll, Jean Grey, or Marvel Girl, or Phoenix, or whatever you like to call her.
Oh yeah, she has gone by a few different names.
Yeah, she's collecting them all.
So before talking about the character a little bit more in depth and the stories you recommended, I'd like to just establish how you got into comic books and how you got into reading X-Men comic books. And that may be the same thing, but you know best, so please go ahead and tell us.
Well, I grew up with the movies. The first three I was obsessed with. And even though Jean in those movies is kind of, she's like there. She's definitely there. But something about her, I think, just like sort of connected with me. And then from there, I sort of sought out anything I could of X-Men related things. And I think Disney Channel, like really late in the night, would play the cartoon, the 90s cartoon. And Disney would play those really late at night. So I would record them and then I'd watch them. And they for some reason would always replay the Phoenix Saga episodes. And those, again, Jean in the animated series is kind of awful as well. But as a child, I was like eating it up. I love that.
Yeah, I've heard, and I haven't seen much of the animated series, but I heard that she just faints often. Is that an accurate account of...
Very often. I think it's sort of like the case of like, we have this character who is super powerful, but like we can't use her for everything. So she's kind of just like weak, which is like, all right. But, that's kind of not like why people usually like Jean.
Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit of my history with Jean Grey because it's a little complicated, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of versus each other. You're an Emma fan and I'm a Jean fan.
Yes. I know, but look, hopefully, in current continuity, they're more friends, right? So
Yeah,
hopefully
they
by
go
the
out
end
for
of this,
drinks.
we can be like that too. Although, I mean, we're not enemies right now, but
I hope not.
no, of course. And I don't dislike Jean. I've just like right now, or before this, I was neutral on her. I'll give you a little spoiler. I do kind of like her a bit more now.
Yay! I've got you.
You did, for sure. But so my first like introduction to the X-Men was through Grant Morrison's new X-Men run, which was one of your recommendations. And I totally understand why it was a Jean Grey rec for you, because when I first read this, my two immediate favorite characters in the X-Men world were Emma Frost and Jean Grey.
Yeah.
And then as I like continued reading and going back to like the earlier years and whatnot, I kind of veered away from being a Jean fan because I don't know, all the other characters kind of resonated more with me. And I feel it just kind of felt like they didn't utilize Jean that often after like the Dark Phoenix stuff.
Yeah.
And she was kind of just like hanging in the background. And she'd be like, don't worry, guys, I'll connect us all in our minds so we can talk while we fight. And then that was kind of what she did.
Yeah, that's sort of the way with Jean. She is either incredibly written or sort of underused and just sort of falls by the wayside a lot, and which is kind of depressing when you really like her.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, I mean, I think it's part of being a comic book fan, though, Alex, that at some point your favorite character just gets slaughtered, unfortunately. I'm really worried for Emma Frost, to tell you the truth, because I forget what storyline it was in, but they have been like hinting or prophesizing about like the marriage of Emma Frost and Tony Stark. And that is just something I very much oppose and sounds like a terrible character dynamic that I don't want to see play out in any capacity.
That's very, like, that's worse than Scott and Emma. Like, I think they're just thinking, oh, they're both rich, like maybe it'll work out.
Yeah, and it's like Emma feels like the antithesis of Tony Stark in many ways. But we're not here to talk about Emma. We're here to talk about Jean Grey.
I'd love to also, but
yeah, I mean, they do kind of go hand in hand at times.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of much like Jean. I don't think Jean would like to admit it, but there are a lot in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I do see that, honestly. And I think that's why I was drawn to both those characters immediately in the Grant Morrison's run, like I was saying, because, I don't know, they both kind of have this it feels like diminutive to say it like this, but kind of like a mean girl mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Emma is definitely the head bitch in charge, while Jean is more of a quiet evil. Oh, not evil.
Well, no, evil's not accurate, but it's also not wrong at times.
True. At times, definitely.
I mean, the world's gray, right? In a lot of instances. Sometimes it's not so much. But
Very Jean Grey, if you will.
oh, very nice. But Jean Grey's like her, and we can talk more about this in both these storylines, I think, that we took a look at. But Jean Grey is sort of okay. So there are some characters who approach problem solving through a creative way. I think Emma, a lot of the times, operates that way. You know, she like does kind of this plotting with longevity thing. She uses her connection, she uses charm, she uses her powers when she needs to. And then there are other characters who kind of use like brute force to get through problems. And like Wolverine is kind of like that, like hack and slash and explode type characters. And I think Jean Grey, honestly, she does both, but I think she kind of falls into the brute force way sometimes, but as a telepath. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, things aren't working out. Let me rearrange your mind. Like
I've seen it put in a great way where Emma's much more like a surgeon and how she uses her telepathy, and Jean is much more just sort of like a freight train just going straight through.
Yeah, that is a really good way to put it. And it's honestly, I'm not criticizing Jean in that capacity. I think it makes her character a lot more interesting.
Yeah. And it also like comes from, I think, her basically being trained and raised by Xavier, who is very just morally dubious in the way he uses his powers at times. And I think that's sort of...
Say more, Alex. Say more.
And it's definitely rubbed off on Jean in a lot of ways. And she's just sort of, you know, I always think of it as Jean has a very strict moral code, yet she does not follow it at all. She is very much the type just to preach to somebody, but not follow the advice she's preaching.
And it's actually a really kind of interesting point you made. And I never thought about it like that before about, I mean, all those original 5 X-Men were like raised by Charles Xavier. They're like almost his kids essentially. And it is interesting that, you know, since he's a telepath and she's a telepath, she kind of took on the methodology that he uses.
I've always read her as his favorite in a lot of ways because he can relate to her on that level. And that is kind of bad for her in the way he sort of uses her in a lot of ways.
I do love in the Grant Morrison run, there's like a moment when it's like, I forget what exactly is happening, but it's Jean Grey and she's sitting with Professor Xavier. And I think it's like when Cerebra, like it hurt him or something.
Yes, I just read the...
Yeah, and then... oh, yeah, do you know what I'm about to say?
Yeah, and he sort of, like, yells at her and is like, go do this thing. She's like, I'm not Scott. Like, you can't just yell at me like that and tell me what to do.
I love that. She's like, okay, first, tone down the attitude because, yeah, I'm not the other ones. You don't speak to me that way, which is great. And it's like, I was looking back at that. I was like, yeah, this is why I loved Jean Grey in this run. She's so awesome.
Yeah, she's sort of, what I love about Jean in New X-Men is she sort of just like, in a way, gives zero fucks and is like, basically just accepts that she's like, wait, I am super powerful and I'm low-key better than all of you.
The moment when like the Phoenix like reawakens in her is like such an iconic moment in that storyline for me, and it's so fun.
So much.
And here, let me ask you, as like a Jean fan and just an X-Men fan in general, how do you feel about like the Phoenix Force? It feels like a lot of times, I don't know, it's like it's just used a ton over the X-Men history, and then it's like put away and it comes back, and it's put away and it comes back. But so, what are your thoughts on that?
It definitely depends story to story. Like, I love how it's used in New X-Men, but another story like Avengers versus X-Men, I'm not exactly fond of how it's used there. It gets complicated because at times I'm like, I love the Phoenix and I love to see the Phoenix used well, and sometimes I'm just like, could we please put it away? I never want to see it again.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, like I have not read a lot of like more modern stuff, so I know there's stuff that people don't particularly like with the Phoenix Force. And as I was reading the all new X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis, they talked a lot about like Cyclops had been possessed by the Phoenix Force, and then he killed Charles Xavier.
Would you like me to spoil a little bit of that for you?
Yeah, go ahead and spoil whatever, because when it comes to X-Men, it's like for me, like the actual reading journey is the excitement and like the character interactions. So like the plot stuff is gets so complicated and convoluted anyway. It's like, go ahead, just tell me.
Yeah, like when you just hear it and then when you actually read it, it's like so much more different than how it was explained to
Exactly.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
So in Avengers versus X-Men, the Avengers see that the Phoenix is coming to Earth and basically sort of blow it up in a sense. And Colossus, Magic, Emma, and Scott are sort of there when it's blown up and it goes into them and they've sort of become the Phoenix Five. Oh no, Namor is there as well. I forgot about Namor. Sorry. And they become the Phoenix Five and hilarity ensues. uh, they sort of do some good and some evil, and things get bad, and somehow all the others end up losing the Phoenix Force, and it's just Scott, and sort of overrun with power, he ends up killing Xavier, and it's just a bunch of things going on. There's a mutant messiah.
It sounded kind of like just getting the tidbits of it from All New X-Men. It was like, wow, that last story line must have been pretty wild. Like, it sounds like crazy things happened.
Wild. Good. I don't know. But wild, most definitely.
This All New X-Men run that we read, like I said, it kind of turned me back into a big Jean fan, because like the idea of bringing the original 5 X-Men forward in time kind of feels like a silly gimmick at first, but I was surprised by how well it was handled. And you know what? It's just plain fun, and it's comic books, and I feel like it gives some better context to like those original issues where comic stories weren't, I guess, as like dynamic or intricate or like relying on years of content as they are today.
And that's why I especially love it for Jean, because 60s Jean is very much a non-character. And for her to be brought into the modern age and sort of given a chance to shine in a way she wasn't originally given, I think it's the best for her than any of the other 5. And you think it would be great. I mean, there's some good Cyclops stuff in there, but by far, the Jean stuff is just so interesting, especially because Jean is dead, so
yeah, oh my god, there's a hilarious moment, which is morbidly hilarious, but it's like when Beast is talking with her in his head, I believe, and she's like, how did I die? And he's like, oh, which time? It's like, oh my god, like what kind of life do I end up living?
Humor like that in these stories where it's just like these characters die so much, especially Jean, and come back so much. It's kind of like, okay.
Name a better duo aside from Jean Grey and dying, because it feels like it happens all the time.
She loves it.
It's her hobby.
It's her drama queen nature. She loves to make a scene.
I did love Jean Grey in this storyline, and I'm finding it's kind of this running theme in some of the X-Men books, where they use like the mutant metaphor and whatnot to sort of like examine like growing up and like finding their identity and all that too. And it works really well whenever they do it like that. And I feel like they do it with Jean Grey in here. And it gives her, like we were talking about, it gives her a personality that she kind of maybe didn't have in those original like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby books.
And I'll be honest, sometimes it varies from book to book if she has one still. And they did such a great job. Brian Michael Bendis did such a great job of sort of defining her in this book, and sort of just like, again, giving a voice to a character who didn't have one.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on Beast and his actions during this run.
Oh, I think, Beast is one to always make interesting decisions, and whether they're morally okay or not are always questionable. Whether they make for a great story, this one right here I think makes for a great story.
Yeah, the Beast stuff in it I thought was wild, because like he totally kind of gaslights here, and he doesn't girl boss, he just gaslights.
He just gaslights, and I think that's his way. He's still doing it to this day.
Oh, you're talking about Krakoa Beast?
Yeah.
He's especially dislikable, I'll say. I stopped reading X-Force because of him.
Oh my! I don't blame you. Even Jean is annoyed with his crap when she was briefly a part of X-Force. in
Yeah, that's part of the reason she leaves too, right? Isn't she just like, you guys do, you handle this?
yeah, she's like, she's like, I'm so tired of you patronizing me. like like you're treating me like a child when I'm literally the same age as you.
And I mean, arguably a more important member of like the X-Men team and their lore, right?
Yeah. Jean is a character who is riddled with retcons at times.
I do love, just speaking about her history, I do love in that the all new X-Men run, and I shared this on Twitter, and you saw it, I think. The art splash page by Stuart Immonen when Jean Grey, like, they give her all her memories, or like Beast lets her see all of her memories and all of her history, which is like, seems kind of traumatic to do to someone, but
Definitely, especially for someone who, like Jean, dies like every second. So it's sort of a reoccurring theme with Jean is that she's always trying to run away from her destiny, so to speak. It sort of happens when she comes back after the first Phoenix death in X Factor, and I was just read this annual recently that involves the Fantastic Four and Franklin Richards stuff, and it's random, but there's this great moment between Sue, Storm, and Jean, which there's like a parallel there. Like they very much want Jean to be the X-Men matriarch in the same way Sue is the Fantastic Four matriarch, but Jean is very much so not a matriarch in any way.
yeah, she kind of rejects those notions like throughout the stories, actually.
Yeah, and in the scene I'm talking about, she's just met Rachel for the first time and found out Rachel is her daughter. And she was like, "Isn't it amazing? Like, Rachel's such a great girl. Like, are you happy?" And she's like, "No." Like, I know this is like, it's a little controversial on Jean sort of rejecting Rachel, but Jean's like, I have came back from the dead to find like my entire life has already been continuing on without me. Like, there's like a clone of me, and I have two children that I didn't even conceive, and like my husband was married to someone else, like
Who looked just like me.
who was literally basically me. Like,
Yeah, with her memories as well.
and she's like, I'm tired of like everyone telling me how I should feel about this stuff when I'm feeling so much at every moment.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it is kind of interesting because, like we talked about, Jean, I feel like she just kind of pops up sometimes in stories and isn't sort of the focal point, but also consistently, it's just like heartbreaking because she is kind of just like this character punching bag throughout the decades of X-Men. We're just like
Definitely.
terrible and like heartbreaking, traumatic things just keep happening to her. She's wow, yeah, that's wild.
And I love Madeline, and I know there's a lot of Madeline fans out there who hate Jean for hating Madeline, but like you have to see it from Jean's perspective, where she has come back to find not only is this like someone who looks exactly like her, it's her like that self, and everyone like had loved her. And it's sort of easier for her to make Madeline out to be this evil villain than accept that she is a person with feelings too.
This is an interesting perspective for me personally to sort of think more about too, because when I read like Inferno and everything, immediately I was like drawn to Madeline Pryor over Jean Grey, just because
Yeah, Madeline's awesome.
she's just such like a fascinating character that is like introduced and just like kind of gets tricked into this like demonic rabbit hole also. I mean, talk about another character who like goes through tragedy consistently. And I kind of just like, I don't know, I'm always drawn to these random characters that are sort of like refugee type characters who maybe like weren't supposed to be our main cast, but like showed up and just had so much heart and like so much to them just because the writing was
I
excellent.
feel
And
that.
so like she's sort of one of those ones that I just like brought close to my chest as well. That's also how I love Cat's Eye too. And I one day I hope someone is like, my favorite X-Men is Cat's Eye, so I can do a whole Cat's Eye episode.
She's awesome too. I don't know too much about Cat's Eye, but from the New Mutants issues I've read, she's just like cute. Like I enjoy her.
Yeah. I'm curious how you feel about like Jean Grey and like her personal like romantic relationships. Is there a character you think that like she like lifts her up better than another, or one that maybe she hasn't been with yet that you think she should be, etc.?
For Jean, it's complicated for me because I do love the Jean and Scott romance, especially in the Phoenix Saga. I think that's where they've been the best, and I don't think they've been that good since. But Jean is definitely a character who I think needs a chance to be on her own. She's often tied to the men in her life, and I think it's time for her to just hang out.
Yeah, that's a good thought too, and it sort of goes along with the line of like rejecting that like matriarchal destiny thing you were sort of talking about.
Yeah.
And I feel like Emma Frost is kind of doing that right now, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I'm so glad Jean, like, they didn't keep Scott and Emma together this era. I guess you could argue that they're like secretly together or whatever, but I don't. I don't
think there's as much to support Scott and Emma being secretly together as, you know, some of the other triages.
But like, yeah, I think Jean needs her own, and I guess she's kind of gotten that before this era with X-Men Red and that sort of period of time, which is it's interesting. It's not exactly perfect, but I think it's good enough for her. I can't argue if it's good enough for anyone else, but it's cool to see her in X-Men Red specifically, to see her on her own, because she's just been resurrected from the Phoenix or whatever again, and is sort of hanging out on her own, leading a team, which like I don't think she's ever done really, and be separate from Scott and Logan and even the Phoenix itself. Like that's another long-standing relationship I think Jean needs to be severed from. And I know that's why a lot of people love her, but I think she can be so much more interesting by herself than with the Phoenix. Like it sucks when characters are like tied to a story like that forever.
Yeah, and I think it sort of goes along the conversation of what we were talking about with like just the use of the Phoenix. And honestly, like because I write, I'm a playwright, and from a writer's perspective, if I was ever given the opportunity to write the X-Men and there's like fun concepts like the Phoenix Force and stuff, I get like that there would be a desire to sort of play with all the toys that are at your disposal. And I think a lot of writers probably get their chance to do that and are like, well, of course I'm gonna try to have my own fun, unique take on like the Phoenix. And then sometimes it works, and then sometimes it sounds like we get things like the Phoenix 5, which is a little messier.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I would love to use the Phoenix, but it's also like it's too much of a good thing. It's like you need to use it sparingly, and I think the Phoenix has definitely been used too much. I think it was just recently in an Avengers book, and Captain America was the Phoenix or something. And
oh no, it's getting into like symbiote territory.
Definitely, and that is definitely not how the Phoenix was originally supposed to be. It's definitely become more of a parasite than like a living cosmic god. Like that is life and death or whatever. It's now sort of just like Firebird who likes to make people powerful for a little bit and then leave.
Does Rachel Summers have I guess she doesn't have it currently, does she?
She does not. She's had it. She notably gets it pretty fast after she like appears for the first time. Not the first time, because that's in Days of Future Past. She's pretty soon gets it, like like fights the Beyonder and stuff.
Have you ever read the Excalibur run by Claremont and Alan Davis?
I have not, but I've wanted to for a while. I'm sort of like getting my way there.
I think you would probably like it a lot if you like Rachel Summers, because I think it's the best that she's ever been written, and from what I've seen, nothing else has sort of like hit that stride that like, you know, takes into account all her pain and suffering and like what a tragic character she really is, but what a good heart she also has.
I love Rachel.
So yeah, I definitely recommend checking that one out if you can. But I think she has the Phoenix Force throughout that entire run, and it's like the artwork is beautiful when she utilizes it. She's just such a powerhouse with it. I love her with it.
Yeah, I would love for her to like have it now. Like that would be awesome. I think there's an interesting relationship there with her and Jean and the Phoenix, and it's sort of like she and I can't remember what I read. I think it was like War of Kings or something. But Rachel is sort of like using it as like a way to feel like closer to her mom in a way she like has never really gotten. Which I'd love to see this era, because like, you know, everyone's fine with each other now. I'd love to see Jean and Rachel sort of, you know, have that mother-daughter relationship now. But in a lot of ways, Rachel is sort of wants the destiny that Jean is always kind of running from.
Yeah, and it's I'm generally a huge fan of the Krakoa era, and like X-Men just feels so alive to me right now and super fun, and it's like kind of this like a radical X-Men story that I really enjoy. But my kind of critique of it is I wish like some of these characters that have like familial history at least with each other would interact a little bit more, because it's like now we're all together, we can do that, right? And I feel like we just get passing comments every once in a while.
Especially like the Summers Gray family, which is so complicated. Like there's like that one issue where like they have like that family barbecue or something, another which is very cute, and I loved seeing Teen Cable and Rachel sort of like be sort of bickering siblings, which is very cute. But Gina is like sort of like forgotten in that narrative. She's just sort of like hanging out. She's like, hey. It'll be interesting to see how she feels when Madeline, because it's been announced that Madeline's coming back, so will be interesting to see how the relationships sort of shift.
Yeah, and I know Madeline's supposed to, at least from like some of the solicits, like challenge Throne of Limbo and have sort of a thing with magic going on. But you're right, I do hope that they leave some room for some deeper exploration between like the relationship of Madeline and Jean Grey.
Yeah, Jean has a lot of complicated relationships with a lot of people that is barely ever explored. Which sucks. Like,
yeah, it's kind of crazy that it's like she has decades of storylines and some of them still feel wholly unresolved.
Jean is just one of those characters that if you don't like her, or if you just think she's sort of a nothing character, you just like don't get to enjoy like her intricacies, because I think she has a lot of them, and a lot of people just sort of read her as like powerful, boring wife girl.
Kind of the way that I looked at her after Grant Morrison's run, and then like the other stuff I read that didn't do her as justice as I thought she should have been done, was just like, oh, okay, this now she's just kind of like a boring Emma Frost to me personally. But that's why I'm glad to have this conversation with you and to have read a little bit more, because now these are certainly perspectives that I'll have like moving forward when I'm reading the character in the current era. And now I'm going to be really disappointed if they don't go with your idea to sort of do a deeper exploration of the relationships that Jean has with some of these other characters that might be popping up now.
Even Emma, like I'm glad they're like friends now, but I'd love to see them like chat about them sort of hating each other like for years, and then being it's sort of like, it's cool to see that they've resolved it, but I'd love to see that reconciliation on panel, you know?
Yeah, that's also a good point. And it's like, I feel like Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost had that in Astonishing X-Men, and that was what made that run like super exciting for me. And then, yeah, I feel like Jean Grey and Emma need that, especially because, and look, you know, I love Emma Frost, but every once in a while, Emma Frost needs to get her ass kicked, and Jean Grey has delivered that ass kicking on several occasions. So it'd be fun to sort of take a deeper dive into that.
Even though, you know, she's kind of terrible. She shouldn't have gone so far as she did in that new X-Men issue, but where she's like, basically like, I'm going to dog walk you, Emma. Like, and it's like deeper levels. Like there's that, she basically helped Jean get brainwashed, and like, so like in a way, and on top of that, there's the Scott stuff, and it's just like, Emma kind of deserves this, but also it's like, Jean, like, maybe pull back, maybe be the bigger person, but it's also like, you kind of are allowed to, but it's like, it's so complicated, you know?
Yeah, it's like, for one, Jean, you are totally justified in your feelings to be very upset about that. Two, it's sort of what you said, where it's like, you're not really following the moral compass that you expect others to adhere to here, because you're not like, this isn't really a deliverance of justice. Yes. This is a little bit further than that.
And that's a reoccurring thing with Jean, is that she always goes just like a touch too far, when she would definitely be pissed at Emma if Emma did the same. Like, it's funny. Like, it's like, Jean, like, maybe take a step back and see how you're acting. But it's like,
you know, she makes up for it she brings Emma back to life when she's shattered Diamond. So, you know, and like seeing that older version of Jean do stuff like that also made this all new X-Men read more satisfying too, because I mean, okay, Beast does this thing immediately where he's like, when he's trying to convince the kids to come to the future with him, where he's like, he says like, oh, go ahead, Jean, just read my mind. And he says he forgot that she didn't know that yet, but are we on the same page here that he totally knew that she couldn't do that yet and was just kind of manipulating her?
Yeah, I definitely feel like he was kind of like sort of giving her an incentive to be like, okay, maybe I kind of want to follow what he is saying. Like, he wants her to be interested. And especially for Jean, who at that time, like if this is like the 60s X-Men, like she's the weakest member of them. Like she is sort of like pathetic. At least that's how she's written. And for her to be like, wait, like I have another power? Like like I am important?
Yeah, and it opens this door that like it just cannot be shut after that. And honestly, bringing them to the future is like letting all these cats out of the bag. And then it's hilarious to me how much control our future X-Men lose with these teens running around. They're just like, we can't get them back in the bag. Oh my God.
And it's sort of like being led by Jean. She's like, I'm not going back because I don't want to die. Like,
and it's side note, taking a turn from away from Jean for a second. I think it's hilarious. It's so funny. Like the first few issues, I was laughing to myself that like, it's like nobody is even mentioning Warren. Nobody cares about Warren at all. He's just like there. And then eventually he's like, why does nobody care about me? Why? And I was like, oh, they're like addressing it. That's hilarious. And he's like, I want to go home. I don't want to be here. I love that they had one original X-Men that like kind of had that perspective. It made it a lot more interesting.
Yeah, because Warren kind of has a good. Like all the other, I mean, Bobby's there. He's doing things. But like Beast, Jean, and Scott like have these like interesting things going on. So like, of course they would like, but Warren's like my older self is just like hanging out being a hippie. Like I want to go home.
Yeah, he was really like disturbed by his older self in a way that I found just, like kind of funny and confusing. Like his older self was just like very carefree. Like it's like, and he had the metal wings, I guess, which probably is shocking.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like this.
Yeah, and older Warren is just like, I'm so happy you're here. It's so exciting. Let's go fly. And yeah, Warren was like, this is disturbing.
He's like, I hate this. Mom, come pick me up.
Yeah, and like I'm like, I was thinking the whole time, I was like, oh, he probably wants to go back to his privileged life where he's used to pate on crackers and he's comfortable hiding his wings under his blazer and whatnot.
At that time, he's kind of a non-starter and he just like wants to go back to his chill like life where he's a pretty rich boy.
And when he wants to go back, that's when Jean Grey starts abusing these newfound powers of hers.
Which is very in line for Jean. She loves to do that.
Yeah. Oh, and man, Kitty Pryde has such an amazing speech moment here with that younger Jean Grey. And I love that speech so much because it's like firm, it's compassionate, but it's also like, hey, your team is terrified of you. You're acting like a malevolent god. Stop.
And like it's amazing. And I think like Jean needs to hear that every now and again. Like maybe Kitty needs to like stick around and be Jean's like to keep her in check, because Jean will definitely fall into that malevolent like god every now and again. Like it's just like who she falls into, and she thinks it's okay because if it has a good outcome, why is it bad? Sort of.
Yeah, and I have to say, just on the subject of her powers, what I really enjoyed about this run in particular was also, since Beast sort of opens that door for her mind reading and like further telepathic abilities, it's like previous to that, when she was starting to get those sort of like higher being powers in the Claremont run, she kind of just like naturally was good at it. Maybe that's because she was a little older, but here it's like she has trouble keeping it all in. And it's nice to see some of the X-Men who like Kitty Pryde, like originally like Jean Grey was sort of that mentor to Kitty Pryde and like calmed her down during like that Kitty Pryde's like awful 2 days of running from Emma Frost and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that's a great like, I never thought about that, like that great role reversal of her being like, hey Kitty, like I'm here to protect you, and her sort of being that I forgot about that scene. There's such a great scene of in the Phoenix Saga when because she like the first one Kitty meets, sort of. I can't remember.
Yeah, so I think she talks to Nightcrawler on like their car phone first, but yeah, I think Jean Grey's the first one she actually runs into, and Jean Grey is even like because I think it shows Kitty's thought bubble, and Kitty's like, just stay small, hide, and Jean Grey is even like, good job, those are good thoughts, I can read them, and so could Emma, but it's good thinking, and you're okay now.
Oh, yeah, that just makes all these scenes so much sweeter now that I think about it, and makes the role that Kitty takes on in this book so much more for Jean, especially. It just makes her so much more sweet. Like, I just love that, actually.
Yeah, they have a really nice character relationship in this story, and Kitty seems like an awesome headmistress. I haven't like read too many X books where she is in that role, but I would like to now because she seemed like she was doing a really good job at it.
Yeah, Kitty's definitely just like a natural leader, and I think she's able to calm most people down. Like, I think she just has that nature that Jean sort of never had.
In current X-Men comics, the only one I'm not reading is the main X-Men comic, and I think that is what Jean Grey is in mostly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't see her that often, actually.
I've liked some of it so far. Again, it's like, oh, I think it's cool how she's being written, but it's also like, that's my problem with Jean this era, is sort of, it feels very hollow, because we aren't getting a lot of character moments for her. So when she does get like these girl boss moments, sort of, it's like, okay, like that's cool, but like, I don't, that doesn't make me feel any particular way. Like,
Okay, I guess that's sort of a good point to wrap up the conversation, unless there's any parting thoughts you'd like to drop for Jean Grey as a Jean Grey advocate.
she's great. I don't like the green dress.
I did want to ask you about that, actually. I totally forgot.
Yeah, oh, I have a lot of opinions on the green dress, let me tell you. I know some people are just like, it's whatever, like, it's just a costume. Which, like, yeah, it is just a costume, but for me, it sort of means a lot more for Jean in general. Like, because it is the costume she puts on in the Dark Phoenix saga when she's like, I'm gonna go out. I want to go out as someone I like, and she puts on the Marvel Girl costume, which is, it's cute, which like it works there, and it ends there. And I don't, and unless there's like a story reason why she's back in this costume, I'm like, why is she like? Why is she wearing this?
I've like, since I was fairly neutral on Jean Grey, I was also fairly neutral on the costume, but I did think the discourse around it was mildly entertaining. But I don't understand why they didn't just, maybe it's hard to draw, but why they didn't just do what they did with Storm with the Hellfire Gala, where like she kept her Hellfire Gala costume as her main costume, at least for a while. Like Jean Grey's Hellfire Gala costume, I think, was like kind of a perfect Jean Grey costume.
Yeah, because it's sort of, it's dramatic and sort of above it all. Like, I like her costumes that are more superhero-y, but I definitely see her more, she's like not a superhero. Jean is not about that. She's sort of like, she is, Storm and her both are sort of goddesses. Like, they're sort of above it all, and I think they need more like flowy costumes. Give Jean Grey a cape. She needs a cape. I don't think she's ever had a cape. I'd like her to have a cape.
And on that note, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today as we discussed Jean Grey. Please enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos and more Your Favorite X-Men.